All right, buddy. So did you
Nice.
want to continue on with that? I don't know. Did we put a bow
We
on
we
that?
might have, but I mean, you're
We
right.
don't need to beat a dead horse
Yeah,
on it.
yeah, I don't think that we do either. But I do have some things to show here regarding current events. Or just some pictures here
Cool.
that I found that I thought were interesting. These I'm not going to need sound on these, but these are these came out of the AP. These are just some pictures of mostly civilians that are having to deal with this war in the Ukraine. And sometimes when we think about this, we think about the broader picture of this geopolitical battle happening right now, but we don't think about how this is impacting the civilians. I saw a report this morning that 2.5 million people have become refugees out of Ukraine. And a lot of those people are going to Poland. A lot
and hats off to Poland. They've done one hell of a job of stepping up for these people.
They really have. And if you take a look at the history of the European battles, and in particular Poland, if anybody can empathize with what's happening with Ukraine right now, it's certainly Poland. You saw them really being taken to the cleaners by Russia during World War II. It was a terrible thing, and also by Nazi Germany. And but these pictures, this is actually in Kiev. This is a site. I mean, this Kiev right now is surrounded by the Russians. We showed, I think last week we talked about the convoy that was stalled outside of the capital city, and they were saying, "Oh, look, Putin's run out of gas," and they didn't think through this. And you and we saw through that. All those people have been redeployed. I think that was a psychological thing that was happening right there, because half of the war is psychological, at least half.
True.
Now that city is completely surrounded, and the people are carrying, citizens are armed now and getting ready for this full-on attack. This is a checkpoint in Kyiv right now. But look at this. These poor people, the eyes of fear. I can't even imagine what these people are having to face right now. This is also in the capital city. They're feeding the soldiers there. You can see these are civilians that are just trying to protect their city here. This is at a checkpoint in Poland. These people are just coming across the border right now. Look at these faces, Barry.
That's what I was thinking. Boy, you see this a crowded group of people, and people just look angry. I'd say that's it. I was looking for other adjectives. Everybody looks really angry.
They look angry. They look hopeless too.
I wouldn't say that. I was wondering. I would
look at this person.
I think they look bound and determined myself.
Well, but at the same time, they're leaving their country. They just they left their homes. They came across the border with whatever they could carry. They must be exhausted. They must be hungry. And we've got the elderly, and of those 2.5 million that have crossed the border, they're saying 1 million of them are little kids.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that. Now, that picture, there was 4 soldiers, what do you want to say? Assisting an elderly, it looks like a woman in a wheelchair. And so hats off to them for that group effort. It just shows you how difficult the situation is.
You're seeing a lot of in these pictures, people that are seemingly stepping up to really help and assist. Here's a guy here holding the hand of this woman right here.
Yeah. And notice what you see there is the complete destruction of the infrastructure. I mean, look at that bridge.
It's terrible. Yeah.
And with a car flipped over that clearly came off the bridge. It's just, they're showing you the destruction of the entire infrastructure.
I mean, that's what you do if you're going to take down a major city, is you destroy the bridges, you destroy really that infrastructure, so they don't. It's
like you got a new river going on under there, because I'm sure a dam or whatever is damaged.
And the problem too is that you can't get supplies in and out of the city, and basically it's siege war tactics where you starve out the population and then you just go in and you brutalize the city at the end. That's what these people are looking at. And look at this. this is amazing. Two little girls getting
Yeah, young.
weapons
Yeah.
weapons training. They're clearly barely
She's
above
got a
the
machine
teenage.
gun.
I mean, she's got a
What is that? I don't know.
that's like an AR-15 type
Oh,
of a
okay.
thing. It could
Okay.
be an automatic.
Okay.
And this is a semi-automatic.
Mm-hmm.
This guy has in his hands. There's several pictures where they're training the civilian population
Yeah.
on how to take care of themselves. But what a way. I mean, this little girl right here couldn't be more than 13 years old, and she's holding this wicked weapon right here. What a way to grow up.
Well, I was just thinking if she makes it to 40 or 50, the character that and story she would have. But people that go through the harder times that you go through, the more character you build. And that's why the people of World War II generation and stuff like that was the greatest generation ever. But those generations tend to produce spoiled, entitled offspring.
And we've talked about this before. That is the truth. These people are going to be. These people. I mean, look at these. Looks like a family right here. Here's a soldier hiding in the weeds right here, while this family has to. They're leaving Kyiv, the capital city, and I mean, they're just having to go through here. This guy's ducked down. So obviously, it's a dangerous place to be, and they're just out to sitting ducks out there in the open.
Yeah.
Just again, the faces of these people of just the pain of having to go through this, and the people that are stepping up. Here's looks like a police officer carrying a baby. This actually is in the refugee.
Like whose baby is that?
I mean here's another. They just crossed over the border right here. It looks like a mother and a child, could be a grandmother actually, with a child here.
And they're both crying as they just hug.
This is the real thing. The thing I like about this picture, I've seen this guy on the first picture, but look, this is a police officer, a Ukrainian police officer, helping these people as they're fleeing the city. But I mean, he's obviously they'll shoot. This guy is a combatant. Look at him. I mean, he's got the flap jacket on, he's got the helmet. They'll try to shoot this guy, but here's what we're seeing too, is that the Russian army seems indiscriminate. They're killing civilians out there, and they've got no problem doing this. It's really a shame to see what we're looking at. I looked at these pictures earlier and I got choked up.
Oh yeah, it's horrifying. Here's
really
the thing too, though, and I thought about this recently, is that a problem with our country is that we today are so coddled. I mentioned the World War II generation being the greatest character because of all that they went through. And then, but those kind of generations tend to produce, like a wealthy family, somebody is a self-made millionaire, they tend to create entitled offspring. So we've had a few generations now including our generation, of rather entitled people that have had it rather coddled. And so we are now so manipulated by our feelings. Let's face it. We're scared to death of being called a racist. And so we have been manipulated out the wazoo using that kind of methodology. I'm saying it seems almost inevitable that we're going to have to cycle all the way back in there. And it looks like we're on the precipice of, with China being led right into a war without even realizing it, while we're calling each other racist and yelling, "You didn't use my right pronoun," and I think so. In other words, I think there's a good chance it gets all blown up again. And we're going through what Ukrainians are going through right now, and then it's going to create a really great generation,
Yeah, and I think about, when I see these pictures, I think about, what if this came to America?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
And, we just had a Quinnipiac poll out on the same thing come out this past week. Now, this is Daily Wire, so they're categorizing Quinnipiac as a left-leaning polling organization. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what they're saying. But here it is as the world witnesses what's happening in Ukraine, Americans were asked what they would do if they were in the same position as Ukrainians are now, stay and fight or leave the country. Quinnipiac University reported a majority, 55%, say they would stay and fight, while 38% say they would leave the country. That's an interesting statistic.
Very interesting, because
go ahead.
Well, when Trump was on the verge of being elected and nobody thought it would happen, we sure saw a whole lot of people say they would leave the country if he got elected.
And
so
how
I'm
many
not
of them
believing,
did?
right?
Yeah,
So I'm
they
not
didn't leave.
believing that those are the same people that reported the 45% that said they would leave the country. Yeah,
It's
they won't.
It's interesting you're saying that, because that's kind of my next thing that I'm going to, because there were a lot of Democrats that were saying that they would leave the country, but they didn't. Now they broke this down by party affiliation, and they said in the poll, so Republicans say 68 to 25%, and independents say 57 to 36% that they would stay and fight, while Democrats say 52 to 40% to say they would leave the country. So 52% of the Democrats say they would leave. That's an interesting thing that's going on here. I think that I think it's one of those things, Barry, where you really don't know what you would do unless you're really in that situation.
You know
people say things, but when the proverbial crap hits the fan, that's where you find out where your real mettle is.
And you can't know until that happens. I remember I've said this since I was a kid, because we used to talk about the Vietnam War and the atrocities that some soldiers had committed during the Vietnam War. And people would always, I'd never do something like that. You can't say that until you've been in that situation.
No,
same thing.
No. Yeah. Here's some other updates on Russia. This was, I guess this was on Wednesday of this week. This came out that the number of Russian troops killed in the invasion to date is somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000, according to Lieutenant General Scott Barrier, director of the Defense Intelligence Agency. However, he admitted that the estimate has been made with low confidence, and he added that the situation in Kiev could become somewhat desperate in the next 10 days to 2 weeks as Russia's cutting off the supplies to the city. For really just about 14 days of fighting, 2,000 to 4,000 is quite a few people.
It's a lot
to be lost, and that's just on the Russian side of things. Who knows? We're hearing a devastating numbers regarding the civilians. Of course, they don't have an accurate count, and that's the thing about war. And you and I have talked about this, Barry, that there really is a thing called the fog of war. And a lot of this information that we're getting, we got to take with a grain of salt, because it's propaganda laden. And also there's just a lot of confusion that goes on in these kinds of things.
That'd be like trying to get your COVID numbers out of China. How many people had COVID over there? We had no idea. I'd pull up that chart and it'd be like a flat line, like no idea. That's
exactly right. So a lot of things that we're hearing on the news right now, some of it's speculation masked as a fact, and we just gotta be careful about that whole thing. But I just wanted to go back to what we were talking about earlier, because it just seems really odd to me, this whole, you hear a lot of people on both sides of the aisle talking about war with Russia and Ukraine, and a lot of people are gung-ho about the whole thing on both sides of the aisle. You've brought this up several times, Barry, about I'm talking about politicians, about how a lot of these people are invested into the military industrial complex. And
they're loving this.
Yeah, and there's a lot of money to be had for business, for really a lot of these elites that are out there. Sometimes I start to think that when you take a look at organizations like the World Economic Forum, where the elite are, you see people like Putin involved in the World Economic Forum. You see people like Biden and many of the people in the Biden administration involved there. Prince Charles is involved there. A lot of the richest people, Bill Gates, the guy from the Facebook, Xi Jinping from China, they're all involved in reshaping the world through this World Economic Forum, and yet we're warring against each other. And so the interesting thing too, like for instance, take a look at earlier this week, there's all this criticism of the Biden administration because, well, we're doing these we're doing these embargoes, we're cutting off funding to all this Russian stuff. We're not going to buy this, we're not going to buy that, yet we're buying all this oil from Russia, which is really, that's what they're using to finance their war effort. And at the same time, we're giving billions of dollars over to the Ukrainians. So we're really funding both sides of that war. And, so you have to start to think, what is this really all about? And this, it's not the first time either, because you have the same kind of scenarios happening around World War I and World War II. And so who's really benefiting from this? And my experience in researching this is always follow the money. Who benefits from this? And it seems like the very people that are saying go to war are the same people that benefit from going to war.
Yeah, but so many lives are lost. It amazes me that, the loss of consciousness that we can have when money is at stake. And you know what the thing is too, is I think we talked about it before, when you talk about a government or something that, Congress votes on this policy or that policy, which we all know is for a lobbyist group, which is for maybe to appease the pharmaceutical industry. But the responsibility of it is so diffused over so many people that they can all sleep well at night, even though millions or at least thousands of people will die as a result of some drug interaction or something like that. Same thing with this war. It amazes me that when money is on the table, that people can just excuse it away. I just can't believe it.
And I can't either. And that's what we're saying. That's why I thought it was important to show those pictures early on when we're talking about this, because what we're talking about is human capital. These people's lives they're just like us, and they're being devastated, they're being blown up, they're being kicked out of their homes, they're being harassed, they're being oppressed, they're starving, and we're hearing such horrible stories right now. But it also seems like if we take a look at the last few years, that this whole confrontation could have been avoided if we would have just taken our heads out of our butts as far as our politics goes and really understand what's going on. When we really take a look at this fuel thing that's happening right now, the beginning of World War II happened for us when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, and shortly before the Pearl Harbor attack happened, we did an oil embargo of Japan. And Japan is they're economically behind the curve when it comes to fuel resources. So they were looking to be able to expand any way that they could to be able to get a hold of oil reserves. When we put that embargo on them, it was stopping them from everything that they were doing, and that forced them to attack. We're taking a look at the same things today with Russia. Over the last few years, America has really turned a blind eye to what Russia is doing in Europe, and really solidifying a very powerful position by supplying fuel to the European Union, Germany in particular. But here we've been buying from Russia as well, rather than focusing on our own energy reserves here, thus making ourselves very vulnerable to Russia. All the talk that we've heard over the last 5 years, Russia, and Putin, and how terrible he is, but we've actually given him direct and complete control over our individual wallets when it comes to fuel. When you hear President Biden actually saying it's Russia's responsibility, what I hear is that we gave Putin power over each and every one of us by signing off on eliminating the XL pipeline, by signing off on not drilling for oil here. All of those things actually gave a superpower, great power over each one of us individually. And this is how major wars have started over the last 100 years. And we've got to be cognizant of that whole thing. But now what do we do?
Take that, extrapolate that, and now take this same frame of thought and apply it to our relationship with China. And then all of a sudden you go, oh my God, we're going to be speaking Chinese in 10 years.
I mean, really, we're in a trap right now.
This
is a terrible trap that we're in, that, you know, how do you get out of it?
This could be the cautionary tale where we start to take the grip of those fingers off of us.
Maybe. Is it too late is the question. And right now it's all about leadership. And if we have solid leadership, we can get out of this hole. But if we don't, we're going to keep, what is it? When you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. It seems like we're still digging.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah. When you take your frame of thought right there, and so we can witness this right now in real time. Now extrapolate that, put it on our situation with China. It's a yeek. It's a horrible situation.
Yeah. It really is. So lots of things going on here in the news. Did you see where Jussie Smollett?
I did. Yeah, that narcissist. It seems like his whole family. I saw the whole family of narcissists. That again, the entitled. He was taken out of there saying, I'm not suicidal, because he thinks he's so important that somebody's going to try to off him like they did Epstein.
Yeah, he's no Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, really,
he's a joke of an ex-actor.
Yeah, and by the way, you yelling like that on the way out of court that you're not suicidal makes you look suicidal.
I don't know what to say, but I found it funny. That's
let's see. Let me just read this. After the judge announced his sentence, Smollett lowered his face mask and said he was innocent. Here's the quote: "Your Honor, I respect you and I respect the jury, but I did not do this." Okay. The actor told the judge before returning to the court, and I'm not suicidal. And if anything happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it to myself. And you must know that. And just before he was taken into custody, the actor yelled again that he was innocent and raised a fist.
Innocent.
There's a side of you that is, this is what the judge said to him. There's a side of you that has this arrogance and selfishness and narcissism that's just disgraceful. The judge said, you're not a victim of a racial hate crime. You're not a victim of a homophobic hate crime. Right. You're just a charlatan pretending to be a victim of a hate crime. And that's shameful. So Smollett was sentenced yesterday. He got 150 days jail time. He's got something like $200,000 in fines. Part of that is to reimburse the city of Chicago for the investigation. What do you think about the penalty, Barry? Do you think it fits the crime?
Oh, I don't think so. I think that the intent on creating more racial disparity like that, a fake hate crime, should be pretty stringent. Let's put it this way. I put this headline down: Texas man found guilty in the first jury trial over the Capitol riot now faces up to 60 years in prison. And I read about that. I mean, I don't know, man. Put those two side by side and tell me. How does that compare?
Yeah, that doesn't level up to me either. Right. And you're right, because what he was really trying to do, remember, he had those two guys yell, "This is MAGA country." Mm-hmm. So he was really invoking this public animus between the Republicans and the Democrats. It wasn't just a racist thing that he was talking. It was a homophobic thing. It wasn't just a racist and homophobic thing. It was a partisan thing. So he was throwing gasoline on a fire that was already burning in those areas. Yeah. It was like a big time. And
for his own selfish gain,
just so that he could be this famous guy that was, here he is with his fist in the air. I'm innocent and I'm not suicidal. That's going to be on the cover of Time magazine or something.
That's what he thinks.
Yeah. And, I thought it was interesting. You had people like Samuel L. Jackson coming out to his defense, and you also had his grandmother was in court and told the judge not to put him in jail, that because of his status as a black man and a homosexual, that it would be dangerous for him to go there. But if you do put him in there, send me with him. And I'm like, wow. Jussie Smollett's grandmother in prison with him, that's a weird.
That's
I don't
so
know. Like,
weird.
I don't think that would work out well for Jussie. Let me just put it that way.
That's so weird.
Brought your grandma. Come on, man.
Yeah, bring your mommy too.
A sure way for him to really be harassed in there. But anyway,
sounds right.
It was. I saw the video of this, and I just thought, God, this guy is insane. Like he's yelling that he's not suicidal, but he's really acting like a crazy enough guy to do something like that and say, oh, and write a note. They killed me, and like he could do anything for fame.
Yeah, I think there's one word that describes him best. The judge used it: total narcissist. Total narcissist. Absolutely.
They saw through it. I was so glad that, because I was concerned that he wasn't going to get any jail time at all.
Yeah. What's her name? Who the AG at Chicago dropped the charges originally? Wasn't that how that was?
That's exactly what happened.
That's crazy.
It was crazy. So I thought this person could get away with this, and I'm glad that didn't happen. So there they are.
I got something interesting for you.
Let's hear
Hail to the squid, new species of extinct vampire squid-like cephalopod with 10 arms named after Biden. Check that thing out, man. So cool just read a bit of this. A vampiropod fit for a president. Researchers at Yale and the American Museum of Natural History have identified the earliest known relative of octopuses and vampire squid and named it after the 46th president. I cannot say that scientific word. It has 10 arms, fins, and rows of suckers to grasp prey. It lived 328 million years ago and represents a new species of vampire pod. The group of marine animals that includes modern octopuses and vampire squid. Now, with that, I want to interject that I saw a documentary one time. In fact, I've read it a couple of places that it's theorized that octopus, or at least a strain of them, are alien, that they came here on meteorites because their DNA is so different from anything else on Earth.
Well, certainly that picture you just showed, that looks like otherworldly type of a creature right there. That would be a great alien in a movie, actually.
Oh, for sure.
That's what comes out of the flying saucer when they land. Everybody would be like, ah!
Really? Hey, you don't know if we could actually get to that water that's under the surface of Mars. Maybe there's some of these things there.
That's what's in there. That's who's running Mars right now.
Could be. I haven't, kind of disappointed to not see anything really interesting from the rover or the new telescope. That is. Now, I've seen some pictures. They're very pretty, but I want some real news. I want to see something moving around. Like, what the heck is that?
I think the whole concept, though, of this, and I don't know a whole lot about it. This new, you're talking about the new telescope that's up there, right?
Yeah. What's the name of it? It's named after that one dude that was then accused of sexual harassment or something. So they wanted to take his name off of it, but they didn't.
No. Oh boy, I can't
remember the name of it. But it's like 1 million miles away and way more powerful than the Hubble. So we should be getting some really serious stuff.
One of the things that I heard, in fact, Scott was telling me about this, is that, one problem with the Hubble is that you can only see so far because there's, all the space dust out there. And so that, it after millions of miles, you can't see any further because it blocks your view. But for some reason, this telescope can see through that.
It's infrared for that reason.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So they're going to be able to see much greater distances than the Hubble could see. And then we were starting to talk about this whole concept of, as you're looking into this telescope, you're actually, in a sense, traveling through time, because you're seeing things, that happened, maybe
100,000 years
millions of years ago. Right.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And how cool that whole concept is that we're actually seeing that. I always thought that if somehow you could maybe put a big mirror over there, could you possibly see back onto Earth in the past?
What?
You see what I'm saying?
I'm not grasping. For instance, put a mirror where?
Okay, well, let's say you put a mirror on a this is hypothetical, on a
Of course.
star that was, let's say, 100 light years away.
Mm-hmm.
And so that when we actually look into the mirror back at Earth through this telescope and we zoom in on, let's say, Washington, D.C., we could see what was happening 200 years ago.
Wow, what a great thought. I'm going to have to think about that, because right now I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, it's a concept, because I mean, if you're looking 100 light years away and it's bouncing back to Earth, now it's 200 light years away. You're looking at 200 years into the past.
You're talking about taking a mirror, going out to this sun that's 100,000 light years away.
Or maybe it would still be 100.
It would still be 100, because now you came back, and so it's reflected. It's not like you turned it on.
I got you. Still, you're looking into the past.
Yes.
Interesting thing to think about. I love to consider the whole time travel thing.
Oh, yeah.
I really think there's a way to make that happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think, when you and I have talked about these, is it aliens? What are we looking at here?
Mm-hmm,
are we looking at the potential of people maybe hundreds of years from now?
It seems very probable.
Travel time, and that's what we're seeing.
It seems very probable to me, especially when you see the way those so-called UFOs move. They look like they're skipping through time, basically, to me.
And then when you talk about quantum physics, and it's all about light, right? And the ability for these things to look like light. I don't know if it's time and space, light, they're all interrelated here. Anyway, I don't know. I'm going down a rabbit hole, but it's fun to think about.
I love to talk about this kind of stuff. I'm going to think more about that mirror theory of yours. I think that's fascinating. The interesting thing about time travel, and I love time travel movies, I just love them. The real theory, because people will always say, well, of course it's not possible. Otherwise we would have people here. We would have evidence of it all the time. Well, the theory behind that is you won't witness time travel until the first time machine's made. That is the door, the access for somebody to come back to. But until the first time machine is made, there could not be time travel, because they don't have the portal to get back from because that's what people say, is we would know people from the future and they could prove it. But the time machine hasn't been made yet. But the instant it does, it seems like it's one of those events like a singularity, or the second coming of Christ, or the moment we merge with technology, all those things, because all of a sudden time would kind of cease to exist, because the person from the future would come back to that time machine and give us all of the tech of the future. And I think so, therefore we can jump around in time whenever anybody could, whenever they want. You say, well, everybody doesn't have a time machine, but the first person that goes to the future and creates more time machines can bring them back. You could once the first time machine is made, you can keep coming back to that same period in time
and changing it. Yes.
I
see what you're saying.
It would change, put time machines reality. Everywhere.
Yes.
So it would change everything in that very instant.
Well, see, this is why I think this is so silly. This is why I think if that's what's really happening, that's why they can't really have contact with us, because they don't want to screw up the whole universe by having somebody create a time machine in the past. This is so ridiculous, but it's kind of cool at the same time. We can make a movie out of it. It is.
Well, if you look at us, you see the situation with Ukraine, Russia, China, us. We always act like we're innocent. We're not. Anybody from the future or superior alien technologies got to look at us and think, man, they need a few hundred years yet. They are not ready for our stuff yet. We are so primitive as a civilization. We have no world court that can prosecute Putin as we think we do. We kind of act like we do, but we really don't. We got third world countries still. We have no cooperation. Our government is so corrupt all the way through. We're so primitive. We're so primitive.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and at the same time, a one world government would be a horror in itself, and because there's no checks and balances on that whole thing, and so I don't know, man. It's the world we live in, and it's certainly, from my Christian perspective, a fallen world. There's no way that we as mankind can really fix it, because we have these things on the inside of us that tend to gravitate towards our, just like Jussie Smollett, our own good, and everyone else be damned. So that's the problem. Hey, I want to change subjects real quick because I see we're running out of time here. Here's something that came out in the news. Let me see if I can find this. Okay, here it is. This is kind of ominous to me, and this is actually happening. It's nope, that's not what it was. It's let's see. Genetically modified mosquitoes set to be released in California and Florida. And I'm trying to pull up this article. Oh, here it is. Okay, so millions of genetically modified mosquitoes are set to be released in California and Florida in an effort to reduce the number of real disease-carrying invasive mosquitoes. So what they did, Barry, is that they've got these scientists have these mosquitoes that they're going to release in these two areas to prevent diseases like yellow fever and Zika and dengue fever. I guess these are pretty bad things. And these mosquitoes, they're male mosquitoes. They'll mate. The male mosquitoes don't bite. It's just the females that do. So they'll mate with these other mosquitoes, and there's some type of thing in the gene of these male mosquitoes that'll cause the offspring to die off. And so they're going to release these in California and Florida. And there's naysayers out there that are saying you really haven't tested this very well.
I'm worried about it too. Yeah, and I'm worried about it, messing up the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly. And also these areas that you're releasing these mosquitoes really don't have a problem with dengue fever, yellow fever, Zika virus is very minimal in these areas. But look at the other things that scientists have experimented with genetics. It never seems to come out right. I mean, we got the killer bees.
COVID.
You look at it, I mean, besides COVID.
A little thing like COVID, yeah.
Forget about that. But yeah, it's like, and guess who's
behind it? Fauci.
Well, it's close. Bill Gates.
No way.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. So it's one of his companies that's doing this.
I heard about that first a few years ago, that I thought that they were going to try it in the Amazon or something because of what is it that malaria was it? I don't,
malaria is a big deal when it comes to mosquitoes.
Yeah, correct. And it might have been that, but I heard about that a few years ago, but not in California. I mean, I thought they were going to do where it was so, it was so bad in that area, the Amazon or something, like even if it went wrong, it couldn't be worse than it already is. Something like that.
This, to your point, here's a scientist that's saying releasing billions of GE mosquitoes makes it likely that female GE mosquitoes will get out and create hybrid mosquitoes that are more virulent and aggressive.
There you go. There's our new COVID starting.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You can't go outside because of these new genetically modified mosquitoes.
That's why you can't
blame
go
it on
outside.
China. Blame it on China.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And let's see. I'm trying to find where they mentioned.
But if you wear this special suit, and you must wear it, and the new mask.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean,
the mask thing in the airports is infuriating. It's just like, really? We're still doing this? Come on, man.
Yeah, let me just read this one part. The mosquitoes were made by UK-based biotechnology firm Oxitec, which is funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
There we go.
He's in everything. I was talking to somebody out here who asked me, when did Bill Gates get his medical degree?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when what were we talking about a week or two ago? That he has his footprint. It had to be with the vaccines. And he kept saying we a lot, like we developed this, we're doing this. And you know what, this is a case of where that whole, seriously, man, there's all the great stuff that has happened by capitalism, allowing the smartest people, the most influential people to rise to the top. And it's pulling 135,000 people per day out of poverty. However, it's gotten to the point like everything has its pinnacle of where it's a great thing, until you hit the other side and you start sliding down. And that's where we're at, where there's these few people that have way too much power because they got all the money. And
well, that's it.
Yeah.
And we talked about peer review. So Bill Gates' company comes out and says, oh, we can put these genetically modified mosquitoes, but there's no peer review. So we don't really know exactly what's going to happen. But Bill Gates said it, so it must be true. And let's release billions of mosquitoes out there. Come on, this sounds like a sci-fi, the beginning of a sci-fi movie.
It really does. I see the movies coming out already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that was actually really good, where you were thinking this is the new stay in your house and don't go out there, because these mosquitoes, when they bite you, they're going to give you COVID or whatever. Don't let them in your house. And then we're going to have to buy some kind of light thing that attracts the COVID mosquito to your light.
Super repellent.
Right? Exactly. And here it is. And the super repellent causes some kind of horrible disease that we keep that hush hush.
But then the new drug on the market, but under patent, that'll cure that.
Yeah, under patent, not over-the-counter drugs, because those are bad. Those are horse drugs. Hey, here's one final thing I got here. I found, this is not news or anything like that, but I told you that I got away from the old man cable. I'm done with that. One of the things that I was bummed out about, though, is I love Turner Classic Movies, and I'm like, I totally miss that, because I love those old movies. Those to me, they don't make them like that. So I was talking to our friend Rex yesterday, and he said, well, do you have HBO Max? I'm like, yeah, I got HBO Max. He goes, scroll down, go in the app, scroll down to the bottom, and what you're going to see is HBO Hub. And when you go there, you'll see Turner Classic Movies. Oh, I'm like, what? So I checked it out, and I asked him, one of the things I love about Turner Classic Movies is, you got, Mankiewicz, Witz or whatever his name is, come out, and he tells you all about the movie beforehand and why it was special and who's in it and kind of the behind the scene. And by the time they're done with it, I'm so excited to watch this movie. I said, is that on this app? And he goes, no. I was bummed out about that, but I checked it out anyhow last night, and I went there and I found one of my favorite old movies, which is Ben-Hur. I don't know if you ever saw it. It's a really long movie, but it's awesome, with Charlton Heston.
Okay.
And I turned it on, and here comes my guy right ahead to introduce the movie, tell me all about how it won an Academy Award in 1959 and all the stuff I wanted. So I'm so happy. If you have HBO Max, check it out. It's at the bottom.
Oh, well, that's cool. That's a good share. Yeah, let's see. What have I watched? We didn't watch anything on vacation.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. I have a great story that I'll probably just save for next week, but I'll tell you read the headline for you here. Cellular regeneration experiment in mice reverses signs of aging. Ooh. It's a great article, man. And it's working in mice right now. They're totally reversing signs of aging.
So definitely save that for next week and the over 50 starting over portion, because we all want to know. I mean, let's de-age our resume and actually de-age.
Yeah. Yeah. I in college, I took a class on aging, theories on ageism, I think is what it was called. Very, very interesting. Like the thought of, are we pre-programmed for our organs and things like that to deteriorate, or could we actually transplant them and continue to live on, or would your soul expire? We don't know.
Very interesting. I love the concept.
And we may find out sooner rather than later that if we replace body parts with AI stuff and computer stuff. We're going to do it like arms and stuff like that. We're close. I mean,
they're already experimenting with this
well,
stuff.
remember that story I shared about a year ago about it was from a Case Medical Center that a guy in a lab is wearing this glove and flexing his hand and making a robot hand move in California.
Oh, yeah. Right.
It's cool.
Yeah, that is, the ramifications of that are exponential.
Well, that's wearing a full bodysuit and having an avatar anywhere you want it to be. And
think about it, like a lot of times technology is increased through war.
Yes,
and
sure.
you see this on sci-fi movies all the time. But if you could do that to a robot, then you could put your robot on the front lines of a war while you're like in your living room or something, fighting against another superpower or whatever.
You would think we'd be able to do that now.
You would think that.
We got to be this close,
I felt like that's what was going to happen to the NFL at one time. It was just going to be like avatars of people out there because of all the injuries that have been happening. That will happen. I thought, so, back when I lived downtown and you were still in Cleveland, I remember I remember talking to somebody about this. I really thought, back then virtual reality was all the talk 20 years ago. Yeah.
And it's only just now coming really pretty, big and real. But I thought back then for sure all sports would be virtual because you could do anything. The laws of physics don't even apply. I imagine 3D pool. And what I mean is not only on the physical plane this way, but up and all over. The pockets could be anywhere. And
interesting.
Like through space. And but you could be like a physical activity would be something if you had a full body suit on, it could be like what do you call those shows where they're going through gymnastic type stuff and end up falling into the water?
Oh yeah, those are fun.
Yeah, but imagine that in a virtual plane, in virtual reality.
Yeah,
anything could happen. So you change that period, you have certain ones, and so it becomes like you could do almost like to a Super Bowl. So you get to the harder and harder ones, and whoever masters that, and it's really just a guy or two or three or 10 in a room with these suits on.
It's interesting because now you've got these video games where people are playing each other. They could be anywhere in the world and they're playing each other, and it wouldn't take too many leaps forward for what you're saying to actually come true. So I just, as you're talking, I'm thinking about some of these people I see in funny videos where they have the virtual reality thing and they're like boxing someone, they actually punch somebody that gets in the way.
yeah, I've seen that. I just want to throw out there, because we're going to have to get going, that next week I think I want to talk about, and I mentioned it before, but I want to bring on a guest. I want to talk about when is it time to put your mother or father into a nursing home, assisted living of some sort. And I have some good articles on it with some good tips. I want to share that, but I also want to do a guest spot with our buddy, Dan, the fireman, who's facing this choice, this decision. Right. Yeah. Immediately it's in his face. So I don't know if I'm going to just take 15 minutes of him and splice it in or do a full guest episode. We'll see how it goes, but I wanted to put that bug in your ear because it's a very serious conversation that affects or is going to affect almost all of us.
Right. In one way or another. Yep.
Yeah. It's not something that we want to talk about or think about, but we have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, we should go.
All right,
dude. Been a great episode. Really enjoyed
absolutely
talking all over the place.
Me too, man. Yeah, but great stuff.
Yeah, really. Good luck with Black Ops. I'm going to take a look at your website here as soon as we get off in the stuff.
I'll send you our new press release as well.
I really want to see that. Cool. All right, man. Have a great weekend. Love you, bro.
You too. Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.